Welcome back, listeners, to A Tale of Two Hygienists. This is episode number 19. I'm Andrew Johnston. I'm here with my buddy, Michelle. How's it going, Michelle?
Hola. I am here.
Hola. I feel like we have different intros every time because I sang my intro last time and then you're speaking different languages now.
That's just my way of speaking this weekend. I think every time anyone's answered the phone, I've said, hola.
I think, and not to offend all of our Spanish-speaking listeners, and then also future Spanish-speaking listeners, because this podcast will be in perpetuity forever. But I think they say bueno when they answer that. Bueno. Anyways, that's
really?
Every time I go. Yeah, I think so. Listeners, if I'm wrong, make sure you get back to me. But I feel like when I was in Yakima, we had a lot of Spanish-speaking patients. And so whenever, and like in the home and with their phones and things like that, everyone that they conversed with was all Spanish speaking. So whenever we would call them for their dental appointment, like when I was in hygiene school and stuff like that, I would call up and they'd say, bueno. I'm like, is Ramon there? He's supposed to be my board's patient. So should he please come in to get his teeth cleaned?
Well, I will ask my cousin who is half Colombian. But nice. American. I'll ask him. Ask him what.
I love Colombians for some reason. It just seems, and we probably shouldn't go down this little rabbit hole of racial talk, but I feel like anyway. every Colombian that I've met, first of all, gorgeous, very, very beautiful people, and I feel like there's like a lot of blondes and a lot of like blue eyes and things like that for the people that I've met. Mm-hmm. But they've always been. Maybe it's just the whole
they're
Spanish
fiery
culture.
individuals.
I love it.
Fiery.
I love it. But they're also they're loving too, though. Fiery, opinionated, but loving.
My aunt is Colombian, so my uncle on my mom's side married a legit Colombian woman. Came over to, I think she came over here for school. She's an eye doctor, and she's, oh my God, I remember like growing up with her and being 10, 12 years old and like being in the car with her and somebody piss her off. Oh my God. It was like, I want to know what she said. What did she say? And there was like hands being thrown everywhere. I just loved it. And so it's awesome. So funny because my cousin couldn't be like, he's very much like my uncle who is very laid back. And so when his mom just like goes off, he's just like rolls his eyes. He's like, gosh, she's a maniac. And I'm like, that's your blood, buddy. You got it in you too. Don't deny it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've been up to this week? You've been traveling around?
I literally, what time is it? 2 hours ago landed from Scottsdale. I'm kind of exhausted too. I feel like my brain's not working because I flew there.
What were you doing down there?
That's I gave my presentation to Western Society of Periodontology and Arizona's Society of Periodontology.
How'd it go?
It was good. I got a lot of great feedback. I'm a hygienist giving a presentation to periodontist, but it was like a team event. And so the guy who put it together was a little worried, like all the doctors, because I was like the last speaker of the day. And he was a little worried that the doctors would leave and like just the hygienist would be there. And it ended up like all of them stayed except for maybe 3, he said. And they, some came late and they even stayed to the very end. And they were the ones that came up and like talked to me afterwards.
Oh, nice.
I know.
What was your topic on that?
So patient-centered care with patient education to maintain dental implants. So teaching your patients the variety of products that are out there and really just teaching them how to care for it. And I mean, I think I told you I had like a little frustration while I was there. And not just while I was there. I was going to
lead into that.
Yeah. I just get so frustrated sometimes because I get so much pushback from hygienists. Like, patients won't do that. They're not going to use that brush. I'm like, don't underestimate your patients. First and foremost, don't not teach them something because really it's your ethical responsibility to educate. I mean, that's
absolutely
first and foremost. But 2, I guess I get a little frustrated because I feel like our profession doesn't take the patient education side as serious. Like, it is just as serious as any part or any procedure that we do on a patient. And if a cardiologist does a double bypass on a patient, do you think that they're not going to have a conversation about diet and exercise and the drugs that they're going to have to be on after the fact? And well, let's hope oral health. Like they would have these conversations. So because it's important and it matters. And honestly, it would probably be malpractice if somebody went in to get a double bypass surgery and then they were like released and never told you might need to stop eating the way that you're eating and you're going to have to be on this blood pressure medicine. And it's important that you take this blood pressure medicine or it's going to happen again, or you could die, or I mean, whatever the side effect is. So why don't we do it in hygiene? Like, why do we not see patient education and the tools that we can find and give to a patient as important?
And I think that, we're educated like that. We're supposed to do all that in schools. And then once we get out into the real world, either just it's not as important to us because we're worried about everything else, or we're just not, I don't know. I don't want to say we forget because that's stupid. Get me wrong,
because I understand that the day-to-day, that daily hustle and the things that we have to do, and they're adding more to our appointment and then shortening the time. Like there are a lot of things that we battle. I totally understand that. My frustration isn't in you attempting to do it and not being able to do it because of all these other outlier like issues. It is when you say to me, patients aren't going to do that, or I don't think that's going to work. I'm like, what? Like, well, and two, I mean, we probably also understand that I have a character flaw. I know this comes as a surprise to you, Andrew.
Just one, huh?
Just this one. I know that it is one that I have to like literally battle with every conversation I have with another human being who's not agreeing with me. I just assume in my head that if you weren't agreeing with me, it's because you don't understand.
Nice.
And it's terrible because I know like everyone's going to come from something different and it's going to be a different situation for every human being. But if I'm like giving you science or like this is a true fact that everybody has agreed on and you're arguing with me, I assume it's just because you don't understand me. Because if you understood me, you would agree with me, which is a terrible characteristic. And I really do try to like dial it back, especially when I'm talking to people at these meetings, because I want to argue with them. Like, why aren't you seeing this? Where am I losing you? And how am I not explaining this properly for you to understand? Because if you understood it, you would agree with me.
Well, I think that, there's two things that we need to talk about, specifically for your frustrations. One,
Xanax?
And you and I talked this. Yeah, probably. I think that the full circle thing that a lot of us hygienists forget, and listeners, hopefully, you'll take this one a little bit to heart. If you do everything that you're supposed to do, patient education wise, and you're still only given 30 minutes to do a cleaning, well, guess what? When they come back, they're going to be more compliant. It's going to be cleaner. It's going to be easier for you to do your job.
That's true.
So we make up the time later on by having those patients be really compliant. And I've seen that in my practice just because the way that my company does things. We really try and get patients to be very compliant. And since they do that, I still have 50 minutes or 60 or how many minutes I need to do the appointments. But I'm seeing that I actually don't need that much time for these cleanings. And it's been fantastic for me. The second thing that I wanted to point out is, listeners, if you haven't already listened to Christine Hodgson's episode, I'm not sure what episode number that was, maybe number 10 or something like that. It was really good, but she spoke a lot, and you and I talked about this yesterday. Actually, I'm going to have you explain it better because it's mostly about if we don't believe in it, then we don't talk to our patients. Like we don't try and get them to believe in it either as much.
Yeah. So she gave like some really great examples. Like if you assume you couldn't afford the treatment, or no, if you couldn't afford the treatment, you assume that the patient couldn't afford the treatment.
Right. You're projecting it.
Exactly. You're
them.
Projecting it. Exactly. And you're making assumptions that might not be true for the patient. And I think that's, she was talking more like with insurance and payment and money and how especially females have a little harder time approaching this with the patient. And I totally agree on that. But what was nice though, is after talking with her on that, I saw what I do as a clinician and I tried to make a change. So I'm hoping maybe people hear it and they make a change as far as finding the importance and being empowered in what their education can do for a patient and how important. I mean, they are such an integral part of that patient's health. And if they see, and this is also part of my presentations, and I speak with Tepe, and we have like 9 different interdental sizes, and I tell them I treat it like a prescription. I prescribe to my patient that particular interdental brush or that particular specialty brush or oral irrigator or whatever it is. I say, you understand how important it is to take your blood pressure medicine. You wouldn't go a day without doing it because it's going to have this consequence. This is no different. And I think when we maybe just change our perspective, and again, like I did with Christine, I changed my perspective on how I approach the financial side of delivering that big dollar amount to a patient sometimes. Just don't project.
We have some metrics that we kind of with our company, and I'm not going to get into that too much. I'm sure that they don't really want it, but one of the metrics though is about patient compliance, and there's a way that we measure it. Not necessarily if they're doing the day-to-day. I mean, we can do like re-evals and things like that we can kind of check certain boxes and say, yep, they're doing this. Nope, they're still struggling here. Doing some clinical evaluations. But really one of the things that, we're really strong on is for Kiambra, in addition to the remineralization pace, whatever we use ClinPro 5000, but you can use whatever you want. If they're high caries risk or extreme caries risk, we also prescribe chlorhexidine. And one of the things that has really helped me after talking to Christine, because I always had a problem, I don't want to say selling it to them, because I'm not selling it to them. We sell it almost at cost. It's almost nothing out of their pocket, but they don't see the value in it. And if you just say, oh yeah, use this mouthwash. So 2 things that I started doing, and again, listeners, this is mostly for you. Take this home with you or to your work. One, like you said, prescribing. So I started saying these prescriptions, not this mouthwash, not this fluoride paste. This prescription fluoride is for this, this, and this. This prescription mouthwash is for this, this, and this. And the second thing I started doing actually within this last probably 6 weeks since I moved offices is I've started saying, I really want you to start using this mouthwash within a half hour after you leave. And the reason why is they're supposed to do 2 doses a day per our regimen.
Right.
But the reason is I tell them, hey, I just, I took all that tartar buildup off and, your gums are a little bit, they're open a little bit. So this is going to be the best time to kill all the bugs that I couldn't get out while your tissues are still a little bit, I actually use the word flappy, which I probably shouldn't use, but while the gums are a little bit flappy and they're open.
You know how some people write down like moist is such a gross word? Flappy is really gross.
But I mean, but that puts that mental image in their head though.
Definitely.
Yeah, my gums are flappy and they're open. And then if I'm going to swish pretty vigorously with this stuff, it's going to get down those little areas. So, and it's been really successful. The patients have really responded well to it. And I don't want to say it's because I'm a better salesman. Because I've always believed in it. I've always believed that this is going to help them for their certain caries risks. I don't think that you and I need to do that. I don't think that we're unhealthy. So there's no reason to. But I think, for them, if I believe in it hard, enough like I do, if I've seen the scientific data behind it, and I've seen those patients that have come back during a reevaluation that have been truly helped by it, well, it's not a sale at all. It's a prescription now.
Right.
So just something to think about.
I totally agree. So that was my weekend, and I'm just now back. I'm so tired, but I think you're probably just as exhausted as I am because you were in Vegas, baby.
Yeah, Vegas, baby. So, yeah, I went to Townie Meeting this year. Let me tell you a little bit about Townie Meeting. You've never been, right?
Negative. Okay.
And this is my first time going. First of all, let me back up. There's Hygiene Town and there's downtown.com. All right. So they're both pretty much, they're like message boards, but you can also do like CE on there. They have a lot of really cool things that you can do on the site once you get in. And there is I think you have to submit your credentials as well if you have them. But I know there's also some salespeople and stuff that are on the site. And so when I've gone on there since 2012, maybe something like that, not that long, but I have hundreds of posts on there. The thing I like about Hygiene Town in general is it's more scientific. So there's can be a lot more, hey, what do we do with this, but why do we do it? And so last week we talked a little bit about people hating us. We always ask questions and why. Well, this satisfies a lot of those for me. And so I've been thinking about going to this hygiene town, or this dental town called Townie Meeting. But it's kind of expensive. But this year they asked me to do a moderation for the hygiene roundtable, and it was really well attended, surprisingly well attended. I think in the main, like the first day, there was probably 400 to 500 people, not in the panel, but overall at this meeting for the general session, and we had at least 50 of them come to the Hygiene Town panel. So it was really, really well attended. I was kind of surprised. I was expecting 10 to 15 or whatever, because it's me, so I don't know. And the cool thing too is Hygiene Town sponsored an open bar, and so
which is always appreciated.
Right. And so, well, my thing was like, if we're going to get these people to this, because the basis was audience participation. And so we had Daniel Lopez was there from, Daniel from Hygiene Town.
My buddy that doesn't know that he's my buddy.
I told him all weekend that you guys are actually friends, and he just believed it, I think.
We're best friends.
And I told him that we're going to come visit him sometime in New York too. So he's all about it. And then Linda Douglas was there. Linda, I've known on Hygiene Town too. And then Lewis Myers from American Eagle Instruments. All three of them were on the panel. And then Karen Siebert, also from American Eagle Instruments, was more of like the technical clinical education part of their instrument. So we had a pretty good cast, because Daniel speaks about HIV topics, and I would consider him an expert in it. Linda does a lot of like remineralization and dry mouth, eating disorders, those types of things. And so it was a pretty well-rounded cast. And so if I wanted these people to be, participating and asking questions to these experts that we had up, available to them for the first time in forever, I want them to be maybe a little bit, get some liquid courage in there to be able to raise their hand.
Absolutely.
The other cool thing though is that it was recorded. And so I think they're going to be putting it up on Hygiene Town as part of a CE course. Oh. So that'll be interesting.
That's great. So we can hear that even if we didn't attend. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, and Dental Town, Hygiene Town, they do a lot of CE stuff. And I think we're going to put some more courses up there soon. Like I think Daniel and I are going to do some stuff, and Linda and I are going to, I think all of us are going to try and collaborate and do a bunch of things together and also individually. So
nice.
When I got there though, what the interesting thing is, like, I am very, very much not social.
You're an introvert.
But I felt like I'm so introverted, but I feel like I could talk to people here. It was a much different atmosphere than even like Chicago Midwinter, right? Chicago Midwinter, we go, there are people going, really quickly from course to course or class to class, and in the 700,000 exhibitors that were there.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was crazy, but here everything was very intimate. We knew each other already from online. I saw a lot of people that I recognized. I think I actually made one guy feel kind of uncomfortable, and I was like, "Hey, you're, Michael Ling or whatever." I was like, "I want to thank you," because every time I post about where I'm going to be traveling, he always was one of the first people that posted, said, "You got to go eat here. You got to do this. This food is fantastic." And I've taken his recommendations several times, and he's never steered me wrong. So I thanked him for that, and he's just like, "Yeah, man, no problem." Like, I think he was hoping I was going to thank him for some real clinical thing that he's helped me with. Not food. So,
nice.
And then we were sitting just yesterday for breakfast. It was Linda and Daniel and I were having breakfast, and there was a doctor there. There's 3 other doctors there, but I think they either all came independently of each other or 2 of them were together and the other person by herself. And he was from Tennessee, and I'm talking about this in our episode today a little bit, but he just started talking to us and kind of treated us like equals. And it was very interesting to me because I don't know. I mean, I could go on and on about how awesome that place is, but if you guys ever have enough it's kind of expensive to go. I
Yeah,
think
it
tuition's
is.
$1,000
Yeah.
if you don't go, if you don't, I know they have like the early bird specials for like half off and stuff like that, which I think people should take advantage of. But it's in Vegas. It's kind of a party, but it's also a lot of really good education. Some really, really big names were there. So, and then Howard Ferran, they recorded his too. I hope you guys get an opportunity to listen to the opening one that he did. I mean, he was so funny, but he's right. I mean, he was very, very right. Oh, he was dead on. But he's probably the most entertaining speaker in the dental world that I know.
Oh, wow. And you got to sit down and talk to him.
Yeah, we did a podcast with him. And so so Howard has, what is this called? Dentistry Uncensored with Howard Ferran. So that's another good podcast for you guys to listen to, but it's very dental, and there are some hygienists and stuff on there as well. But I did I was like number 18 or 25 or something like that a long time ago. He has hundreds of them now. And then he had Daniel and Linda and I on kind of like a panel podcast. And so he had a booth set up, like a little glass sound booth. And I think we posted the picture of it on our Facebook page. But it's always nice to be able to sit with the great Howard Ferran.
I know. I've never seen a man post so much in my life on like Instagram and LinkedIn. I mean, granted, he's got people that are doing it, but wow. But
that's the thing is, like, I don't understand how he does it. Like, he has so much energy, and it was good. It was a good episode. Yesterday, I also gave, what was yesterday? Saturday?
Yeah, sounds right.
Friday. So Friday I gave a Townie talk is what they're called, a little 18-minute presentation on what did I do? Oh, about making mistakes, about how when you make mistakes, you become a better clinician. And you're going to love this. I kind of cried a little bit.
What?
On my little, I know.
Is that for theatrics, or did you have a real emotion?
It's legit. What? So here's the thing. Anytime I talk about my kids, like I get so emotional. And so there was a story that I told about, a mistake that I made as a new father, and, how I learned from that. And then I told another story about how I applied the things that I learned about that one to the next situation and how the outcome was a lot better. But they recorded that one also. I think they're going to put that up on Dental Town as well.
Oh,
so
good.
When those get posted, we'll put the links up because I want people to see it, but I also don't want people to think that I'm a big sissy. But
you did cry.
I am. I did. Well, and I wasn't like all out bawling, but I was just like, I could feel it in my voice kind of quiver a bit. I'm just like,
break up a little bit.
Freaking thing. And yeah, but it was good. It was really well attended. I mean, there were probably 300 to 400 people in the crowd at that time. So it was
wow.
I was kind of down on myself afterwards. Then of course, you have, Karen and Daniel and Linda and Lewis. It was a good job. You did a great job. And a lot of people came up to me afterwards and said, hey, you did a good job. But you always nitpick about the stupid little things. And I'm just like, I didn't do that good. And I took a nap afterwards because I didn't get to sleep at all because I was so nervous about this thing. I don't know why I have so many nerves before speaking, but I do.
People ask me that all the time. Like, aren't you nervous? Aren't you nervous? And there's a book. It's right in front of me somewhere. I don't know where it is, but it's for speakers, and it's by Dale Carnegie, who is just like a great writer and great speaker and motivator. And it said, like, if you are going up on stage and you don't have that like extreme heartbeat or that adrenaline like pumping, then you're probably not passionate, one, about what you're talking about. Because what you want to, that feeling comes not only from you getting up there and being like, oh my God, I don't want to make a mistake, but also because you have something that you're excited to talk about and you want to make sure you get that point across. Like, you want people to learn and feel something during that presentation. And he said that adrenaline is what makes you makes that come across to the audience that you are passionate about when you do get that excited, rush in your voice almost, but it slows down and you get kind of your rhythm going, and it all works out.
I think, it was 18 minutes. And they had this little, it was really kind of cool. They had like a little clock counting down, like where it's a podium. So down where And so it took me probably about 3 or 4 minutes for that calming down to kind of start, where my legs weren't shaking a little bit, which is so, I mean, I've spoken in front of, there's one time, I think I told this before, but I mean, I sang in front of like 2,000 people, and it was a little quartet. It was just the 4 of us. And I'm just like, no big deal.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know, something like that comes up, and the Townie meeting is like, I don't know. Townies are among the best of the best in the business, I think, because they're constantly kind of going back to what you and I talked about before about, the hygienist not really trying to obtain a lot more education. It's not important or something like that for us to do for some reason. But these dentists, I mean, they go on and they're daily posting on this, asking questions, reading about things, getting better and better and better at their craft. And I didn't want to be this stupid hygienist that, isn't good enough or smart enough or
right.
whatever enough for them. So I was super, super nervous, but anyways, it turned out really great. And, now that I'm done with it, I feel really good about it. And I'm very happy that I had the opportunity to do it.
Well, good. You should feel like that. Well, do you know, speaking of CEs and doing things, guess what I did on the flight home?
You read a book.
Negative. I actually started another PowerPoint presentation, but I also signed up for Smiles at Sea.
Oh, nice. Let's talk about that for just a minute, though. So it's because I'm starting to see it everywhere. Everyone's starting to post about it, that they've signed up and they've signed up. So, so Smiles at Sea, for listeners who don't know, we have a friend of the podcast, Elijah Desmond. This is his project, where you go on a cruise and you get CE credits. There's a lot of great speakers that are out there. I'm not sure if you can pull it up on your part, Michelle, about who the speakers are.
I can tell you Tracy Butler is one of them. Susan Wingrove is one of them. Trisha O'Hare is one of them. Deborah Carrier is doing CPR, which I'm taking.
Nice. I know Sandy Lee's doing it, right?
Is she?
She's doing something too. Yeah, I think she told me she was going, at least. I saw her face on the flyer once.
I also know that we went to her birthday party in Chicago.
Oh, Debbie
yes.
Z.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's a speaker.
Yeah. I can't remember what she speaks on though. Oh, cancer, right? I think she speaks on cancer.
I think she's speaking at least twice. I think Tracy Butler might be speaking twice as well.
So, basically,
there's a lot
this
of
event
good
is
names.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And then how much is it? It's like $300 and.
Well, it's after April 1st, so early bird is done. So it was like $450 or something like that with fees. And
usually Elijah has some sort of a promo code though to get $50 off or something like that. So you just have to kind of go through the social media sites and kind of see what he has going on. But it's going to be great. You and I are going to be there, both of us. I signed my brother up, so he's going to be there. And
is he going to be like our technical guy for podcasting? Can we make him carry our bags? I'm kidding.
He's going to hold like the little boom mic above us. No, that's fine. He already hates you. Don't worry. So it's good.
Okay, good.
I
can only go up from here.
That's right. Start really low. Keep expectations as far down as I can be. He's going to be there. I think the thing is about Mike, and he says he listens to the podcast, so this is maybe a test to see if he really does. Is he isn't into the hygiene part of the world like we are. He does a CE, and he's very good clinically. Like that's where he really focuses on himself to make sure that clinically everything that he's going to do, he's like the top of his game. And he is actually probably one of the best restorative hygienists I've ever run across in my life. And he's a businessman. I mean, he really knows what the crap he's doing. He's a great leader. So I really hope that this will kind of open up some doors and some thoughts in his head that he needs to take it to the next level and not only be a local leader, but maybe either within the state somewhere or, ADHA or whatever, because he really has what it takes. He combines what Elijah, myself, Mark, Daniel, all of our friends do. He combines all of that into being that one person that he can do it all because he's that good. So it'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. We're leaving out of where? New Orleans, right?
Yeah, New Orleans.
New Orleans, we're going down to Cozumel and then coming back. So that'll be good.
Yeah.
So and there's going to be, I think we said this before, I think Elijah wants to have, at least 1,000 people going. So it'd be amazing if we can get that many people going. So
yeah, I'm excited. I've also never been on a cruise, so this should be interesting.
Neither have I. What if we're both throwing up the whole entire time?
That would suck so bad.
That would.
I'm definitely going to bring, those like little wristbands for motion sickness.
Now, do those work because there's magnets in there, or is it pressure points?
I think it's pressure points. But I took, I don't know if it was Dramamine or whatever the motion sickness stuff is when I went to Nicaragua and I went offshore fishing. Granted, I also proceeded to get drunk, but when I got off of that, I couldn't tell if I'm pretty sure it was the motion sickness stuff, but I felt like I was still moving and I could not stop moving.
Oh, I think that's normal. I think that part's normal. I think it's, yeah.
Okay.
But
it wasn't the amount of alcohol that I
was drinking. Well, it could have been that too. I don't know. I can't rule that out. But so for our episode today, it is going to be Daniel, Linda, and I talking a little bit about Townie Meeting. The thing that I want to do with this, though, I very easily could have got them, kind of one-on-one and done a really good interview with both of them. But you weren't there. And I felt really bad about it because I know how much you want to meet Daniel and how much you love him. And I think that, especially once you hear Linda's voice, I mean, she has the voice of a goddess.
She's British,
right? So she grew up in London and then now she lives in Toronto. And so I really hope that she listens to this, but I hope she doesn't get offended. She's probably one of the most beautiful, like stunningly beautiful women that I've ever met. Like she is gorgeous. Wow. So, and her daughter is a singer. I'm not really sure how far into, the profession that she is in, but, hopefully that'll maybe make its way to our podcast sometime. We'll try and get her to, she said that, she's like, oh, my daughter's a singer. Maybe we can have her sing on the podcast. I'm like, sure, let's try it. So, maybe on her episode, we'll have her daughter singing in the background as I interview her. That'd be funny.
A family affair.
Solo. Yeah. But, so I just kind of wanted to introduce everyone to these two names, and then we'll have them back and we'll get the real good interviews for them at another time.
Awesome. So what do you have coming up this week? Actually, we're going to see each other on Thursday.
We are. We have, and it's packed, right? So I think we have a couple, possibly 3 interviews that we're going to be doing up here in Washington State. And then Zachary, my oldest son, and I are going to head out to Chicago. I have a meeting with the American Association of Dental Boards, I think is what it is. And so I'll be there over the weekend. Zach and I are going to, taking some sites, and then I'll be back on Monday. So yeah, pretty busy. Okay. We got a lot of stuff coming up this month. This month is a terrible month, by the way.
Terrible? Is that your descriptive?
Terribly busy.
Yeah.
Do you know, by the way, though, 4 flights I took, I got upgraded to first class on 3 of them this last trip. I was very impressed. That's not normally my style, but
I flew Southwest.
If I had more money.
I was pretty happy with my flight, flying with them.
Not Delta? I thought you were a Delta person.
I am a Delta person, but because Delta was stupid expensive to go to Scottsdale or Phoenix for whatever reason, and to get back, their hub is in Atlanta. So I pretty much live in the Atlanta airport. And to get back, it was like 12 hours or something. And I know we had to do our podcast. So I was trying to get back. So I took a flight. I had like an 8:30 flight this morning, like the no change planes layover in Dallas, which is I kind of enjoy, minus the fact that I was starving because I couldn't get off to get any food. But the total trip, I was probably like 6 hours. So way better. Not at all. It's way better.
So I've actually never done the no change planes stopover thing. So you actually just stay on the plane the whole time?
Yeah.
Or can you get out and get back on?
I think you could if you like really needed to, but they like let everybody get off and they like do a head count and then you can get up. You could change your seat if you want to. You can go to the bathroom.
Sure.
But it's really a quick turnaround time as far as people getting onto the plane because I mean, you're looking at like a 15 to 20 minute window at the most.
Oh, nice. That's not bad at all.
No. So, I mean, as I was like waiting in line to go to the bathroom after I was told they got my head count and I could get up, there was somebody I have an issue with why people take so long in the bathroom. I'm also probably the fastest bathroom user ever because my dad, he was like, had 2 girls, 1 boys, and he did not have any patience. He's like, don't make me come in there after you girls. You get in, you get out. And so I guess since then, I am like the fastest bathroom user ever in history, hand washing included. And
I was just going to ask.
Of course, wash my hands every time. But I don't understand. So somebody was taking a really long time in the bathroom. So I was waiting, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And people already coming onto the plane. I was like, oh crap, I need to get back to my seat so no one tries to snag it. Southwest is like open seating. So.
Right. I hate that, by the way.
I hate it if I'm B or C, but if I'm A and I can get some of the good seats, I'm quite okay with it.
All right. Well, let's go to this episode. I hope you guys enjoy listening to just the intro to Daniel and Linda, and we will catch you guys next week. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Welcome, listeners, to a special episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists. I'm here with friends that I met actually on Dentaltown or hygienetown.com. We have Linda Douglas and Daniel Lopez. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be doing the regular style of interview. All 3 of us are here at the Townie Meeting down in Las Vegas, and we're just kind of hanging out and having fun. So welcome to the show, everyone.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it should be on. You got to talk really close to it.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew, for inviting me.
So what have you guys thought so far about Townie Meeting 2016?
I mean, I'm a big fan of it. It's my second one. I find that the camaraderie here is more significant than any other dental event I go to. And, a lot of the dentists here, especially Howard Farron, are really empowering for hygienists and whatnot. So it's really a great experience.
And I agree with Daniel. It's like a family. They're very inclusive, and it's a super atmosphere for learning. They're really really conducive to learning new things.
And I think that's kind of how we all kind of got together in the first place, right? I think, Linda, you were on Hygienetown before I was, for sure. And then, Daniel, you were too, I think. I was kind of the latecomer to the whole Hygienetown thing.
I think I was just before you, maybe.
Because I remember, I think one of my first things, my first post that I read about you, Daniel, you mind if I say what your handle is? Okay. You go by Curvicular on the boards. And I remember there was one where, and this is kind of thing that you and I have talked about this a lot, but one of the things I love about you is that you're always kind of not controversial because you're always right, but you always explain, you definitely have a position on most things.
I mean, that's kind of my MO, is that if I say anything when it comes to dentistry or when it comes to my opinion something, I usually make sure that I can back it up with data, or it comes from some sort of evidence-based source. So I try not to, pardon my French, talk out of my ass when it comes to anything. So I just, I like to be a credible person, and I like to be sure that what I'm saying is going to be, taken seriously.
Yeah, you can swear all you want on this podcast. This is a very informal podcast. We actually, listeners, we had an opportunity to sit in with Howard Farron, and we did an episode with him. And I know Linda has an episode on Howard's podcast that you did. Let's see, I want to say that was probably back in, was it October?
November.
Okay. Yeah. So sometime late last year, and it was a great one. I really enjoyed that episode. But like you were saying earlier, Daniel, is the thing about Hygienetown and Dentaltown in general. And if you guys don't know what this is, you should go to the websites and sign up, and it's free, but it's very empowering. we were just at breakfast, the three of us, and there was a dentist he's from Tennessee, right?
Yes.
And he just started talking to us. Like, I don't want to say that that's weird to me, but it kind of is weird that a dentist would just sit here and, well, Daniel, actually, in your clinic, you guys have a different dynamic, I think, than a lot of other clinics, right? Can you tell us a little bit about your clinic real quick?
My clinic being a federally qualified health center, an FQHC, they sort of position a hygienist as pretty much as we should be positioned, which is as a primary care provider. So while I do answer to the dentist when it comes to clinical work, that's usually not an issue because, they have a certain level of trust in me, and, I bill out procedures, I treatment plan and everything, and it doesn't require the same sort of loops that you have to jump through when it comes to private practice. I am basically on equal footing with the dentist when it comes to everything aside as far as like clinical decisions, the way the clinic should be run and all that. So, that's the kind of dynamic we have there with that is that we're on equal footing as a team.
Which is great. How is it? So you, Linda, you live in Canada. You live in Toronto, right?
That's
Toronto.
right.
We need to talk about Toronto sometime in a little bit too, because we'll talk about that in a minute. But what is it like, the hygienist doctor dynamic in most offices, would you say?
I would say that there are still a few quite autocratic dentists out there with control issues, but
That's everywhere.
I have the pleasure to work with a bunch of doctors who are they're very respectful, and they value my input into the patient care.
Well, the thing is, like, you're so freaking smart. I mean, it'd be stupid of them not to listen to you, Linda. I love all the things that you post. You're fantastic.
Thank you.
And I think, Linda, you and I started talking a little bit because you were at the time you were going to do a first lecture, I think, in Barbados.
Yes, that's
and
right.
And that was amazing. What was it? What were you lecturing on?
I was doing my lecture on saliva, fascinating facts about saliva and saliva testing and dry mouth management.
But you speak about other things too, right?
Yes, I did my first presentation on eating disorders yesterday.
What'd you think? How'd it go?
I think it went quite well.
Yeah. Well, your voice is very enchanting, so it's easy to listen to. I think I'm going to embarrass Daniel a little bit, but I think that's one of the first things he said to me when I got here in Vegas. He's like, because you and I have never met before. We've never talked before.
That's right, yes.
And we were talking about it. He's like, oh, so you had to meet up with Linda and Lewis last night? He's like, yeah. He's like, and her voice is very enchanting or something like that.
That's
I was
so
like,
cool.
Oh, man, it's awesome. And then that doctor this morning said something. He's like,
yes.
Yeah, I love your accent. And you're like, I love your accent because he's from Tennessee. So he's Southern or whatever. So funny. So what are the plans for the rest of the morning? What do you guys have going on?
I'm going to take a power nap and then try to figure out what shows or events we're going to go see with along with my family.
I want to. That's the thing that I guess I didn't really take advantage of here is I didn't do any shows. Like we should. So Daniel, we went out. I should. Do you mind passing your mic over to him? Let's talk about this for a minute. So I had the opportunity to go out with Daniel and his family the first night I was here, and we went out to the buffet. First of all, who was here? Your mom was here. And
my stepfather and my brother.
Your stepfather and your brother. And I got all the dirt on him. It was so. Your mom is so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how you put up with it. Like it's like nonstop. She has a story for everything.
She does, and she loves bursting the facade that I put up for the public.
Because Daniel, you're very professional. Everyone thinks of you as just like a source of knowledge and wisdom. And then she's just like, oh yeah, he was such a bad kid and blah blah blah. And then he used to fight all the time, and she's awesome.
Yeah. She likes letting people know how awful I really am. I put on a good face.
What did you guys go do last night? You guys went out?
We saw La Rev at the Wynn Hotel, which was basically a dreamlike, if you will, sort of aquatic performance in a like circular theater. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Wow. Do you guys think that having this format here in Vegas for this particular type of meeting is different than other meetings you've been to, like the state meetings and stuff?
Certainly is for me. I went to my state association meeting, which was in upstate New York, which It was in Saratoga Springs, which is a very beautiful town, but still not quite nearly as involved as being Las Vegas is, and with all the options and the sights and the the riffraff on the street.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Lost for words now. Actually, what I was going to say, a lot of other meetings can be a bit dry, and often you don't even remember what you've learned. After you get home, you don't really remember much of it. But I mean, you might forget what you learned here for a different reason. But that's I won't talk about that.
Yeah.
But
it's not just OJ that they're drinking. There's something mixed in usually.
But I've learned a lot about reflective learning and the different ways that we learn, what we need to. Learning is not just about sitting and listening to the lecturer, but also being involved, and also I think a place that's conducive to enjoyment and fun, that also facilitates learning.
And I think you're right on that. Even the guy from Tennessee that we were just sitting next to, it's different here because we all come from that hygiene town, dental town community where it's all about learning. That's all we're trying to do is learn on there. It's not like I love the Facebook forums, and on the podcast I talk a lot about like lighthearted RDH and things like that. But I think it's different because as I sat down, he said, well, let's talk about composites for a little bit. And we talked about using flowable in the boxes and these things, and it was staining. Yeah, I mean, about John Kanka's given a course, and that stuff's interesting to me. But he, as a dentist, said, let me help educate you, not in a egotistical way, or he was very, very nice, but he's like, I want to help you learn. I want to help you get better. So you're right. The learning style is way different here, I think, than, okay, every hour I have another class I have to go to, or every 3 hours or whatever block it is. And it's just kind of go, and then you're in a rush because you got to try and find your next meeting room. Here it's all on one floor, and it's pretty. I don't want to say it's small because that kind of gives it like maybe a bad idea. But what do you guys think about Howard's opening, his opening act, if you will?
I always love to listen to Howard speak, especially as a relatively newbie speaker. I always watch speakers, not just for the content, but also the delivery, so I can learn from them. But Howard's his presentations are always unforgettable, and he's such a clear and innovative thinker, and he communicates these new ideas very effectively.
I love how you can tell all of that was unrehearsed, and he's just speaking his mind, and like Andrew said, he manages to offend everyone in one fell swoop, which just breaks the ice and sets the tone for the rest of the weekend, because it instantly takes the edge off. It takes off that kind of nose in the air attitude that you find at other dental conventions. It's just not present here, and it's the embodiment of what Howard Farron is, and the kind of person he is. It just sort of permeates into everyone here in the whole environment. So that's what really sets this whole thing apart, is his personality has created this, and we're all kind of just jumping in with him.
Which I think kind of going along that line is his staff, the people that he brings along, kind of follow suit also. So it's not just him while he's talking and being rambunctious and crazy, but even with our hygiene panel, that was another thing too. Listeners, we were able to put on a dental hygiene panel discussion for about a little over an hour. That was pretty well attended, and I really liked it. But what Hygiene Town did for us to make it so it wasn't so stuffy and clunky and crazy was they gave out drink tickets, and we had a bar right there in the room with us. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, what other meeting have you ever been to where you have like a bar with free drinks over there? And it kind of loosened everybody up a little bit. And while we were still giving, you guys gave really good presentations on specific topics, although it was only 10, 15 minutes worth of material. It was such a good environment that I think that everyone was able to learn a little bit better. And they also got to know more about you guys. We're about 10, 15 minutes into this right now. I actually want to keep this one really short. I want both of you guys to come on the podcast at a later time because I think that one, Michelle would kill me if she wasn't. If she first of all didn't get a chance to meet both of you, she would just absolutely kill me. But before we end, I want to talk to you, Linda, a little bit more about Toronto. Tell me more about kind of like what's the difference since you've been in to the States quite a few times. What's the difference between what you see in dental hygiene in Canada? Even though Toronto's not too far from New York, right? I'm not really great with geography, but it's
you're right.
Not too far over the border or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, what are the major differences that you see between Canadian hygienists and American hygienists?
There actually isn't a lot of difference. The only thing I would say is that whenever I see a patient who has US insurance, we're fit to be tied because your insurance is overly complicated, and a lot of threads are dominated by discussions of, is this SRP or is this a bloody prophy? And we just have scaling codes, and there's a code for polishing, but we can basically just do whatever's needed and bill for it, and it's very simple.
Gosh, I love Canada. I love it so much.
And also our billing is by units of time. So 1 unit of scaling is 15 minutes.
Wow. And then approximately how much would a patient pay for 15 minutes worth of scaling? I
actually usually tell patients that I only know how to clean teeth and I don't know anything about the insurance.
Sure.
But I think maybe it might be about $50 or just under $50.
And so does that start from the first time that the scaler touches the tooth? I mean, I know I don't want to be too pigeonholing this, but I mean, what is 15 minutes of scaling? How do you determine that?
Yeah, that is generally from when you start scaling, but there is a little bit of a grey area there. Actually, that's a bone of contention regarding billing for periodontal charting.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say you can include that in the scaling units, and there is a code for periodontal reassessment, but it's not covered very often, which I think is weird because periodontal assessment is a standard of care.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told my colleagues it seems silly to bill some people, the people who are covered, and then not bill the people who are not covered.
Right.
So I don't bill for it myself.
Because that's not really fair. I mean,
no.
You're discriminating against one or the other.
Yeah.
How big is the hygiene community that you're a part of in Toronto? Do you interact very often with other hygienists outside of your office, but still in Toronto?
I'm actually on a committee with our regulatory body right now.
Nice.
I used to be a quality assurance assessor for our regulatory
That's
body,
awesome.
but there's a conflict of interest where the assessors cannot teach continuing education because assessors also assess your portfolio and your required continuing education hours. So now I'm on a committee, and it's for complaints and inquiries committee. And there's another thing which I can't remember exactly now. So that involves investigating complaints and also discussing how to deal with the hygienist.
That sounds
involved.
Awesome, though, to be honest. I mean, I just think that everyone should get involved in their community one way or another, whether it's going to be at the same level that you're at, Linda, which is kind of a higher level, or even just, study groups and things like that. I mean, just getting involved in hygiene, I think it's super, super important. I think that's, Michelle and I are doing this just because, well, we're dorks about dentistry. I mean, we love dental hygiene. But, yeah, I mean, just trying to promote it and trying to get, for us hygienists over here, we really want more male hygienists to be involved in the process rather than just kind of being so we're here in Vegas and people walking by. You guys want to talk?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Okay,
What's up?
dude.
Come on.
Oh, get him in. Let me get there. He's honestly, he's the best.
So what's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Peter Benjamin.
What's up, Peter Benjamin?
I'm from Las Vegas.
Nevada. I'm 26 years old.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Pretty cool, right?
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, yeah, so we get to you. Well,
What were we
digress.
talking about?
That part's going to be awkward.
About getting involved.
Oh, yeah, getting involved.
Actually, I think you and Daniel, I really admire you both, because when I was out of school for, less than 10 years, I wasn't really involved. I was just going to work and
Sure.
coming back home, basically.
And now that you're more involved, though, has that changed the way you look at the profession?
It has. I always thought, because most of the women I know retired at 60, and especially in England, and I just assumed that I would too. But as it gets closer, I'm not ready to retire.
Because you're 29 now, right? That's,
Yeah, add another 30 years onto that, or almost 30.
so you're not ready to retire. What would you do then? Because there's life outside of clinical.
Yes.
What would you do?
I would love to write a book.
Really?
That's what I
on
would
dental
really
hygiene
love
or on
to do.
dentistry?
Something to do with hygiene.
You should talk to Howard about that.
Yeah.
Howard Ferrand. See what he can do.
But not a dry textbook. But
Sure.
I'm not sure exactly. It's something I'm thinking about.
If any of our listeners, so we have a few thousand people that have downloaded this thing
Yeah.
now. If any of our listeners want to get in contact with you about any of the things that you do, they want to learn more before that we actually do our real podcast episode with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, they're welcome to email me at lindadouglas@simpatico.ca, and I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook.
I'll put those on like the little show notes things that we do, so that they can just kind of click on the link or whatever. So
and the other thing I like, I think Hygiene Towns raised the bar, because there are still there are a few hygiene forums out there, and some of them have kind of fallen by the wayside and faded away.
Right.
But a lot of them were focused on the same themes over and over, which was my boss is horrible, the assistants are jealous of me, and things like this.
Right.
Nobody helps me clean my instruments. But now the bar's raised, and I think we talk a lot more about scientific things,
Right.
And so it's a great, much more effective for learning.
And I feel that that's kind of maybe why I'm a little bit out of my depth sometimes when I'm around you guys, is because I feel like I'm very anecdotal in all my experiences of what I've seen and done. I've done those things because of the science that I've heard you guys say or whatever, but I don't know them in my heart like you guys know them. It's very kind of intimidating. But what I want to say to the listeners, though, is don't be intimidated. But you can don't be a lurker either, because I feel like there's a lot of lurkers on Hygiene Town too.
Yes, yeah.
And I feel like they're missing out on opportunities to ask clarifying questions and to learn more from the people that post on there.
If you estimate, like sometimes I kind of guesstimate the number of views on a thread and then the numbers of responses, and it's usually only about 10% are actively posting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Or it's just Daniel going back and forth, looking at his threads that he posted over and over. He raised the count. Is that how it goes, Daniel? So, Daniel, I want to talk to you a little bit real quick. So you're in New York City, right? And
yes.
The reason why I think that I'm so in awe of the things that you do is your knowledge on HIV. And I don't want to get into the whole thing, because that's what we're going to do our podcast on later on. And again, I know Michelle would really want to be on with that. But what can you quickly tell our listeners about resources for handling situations where I've talked about it before, where they're running instruments through twice or stupid things that are just not universal precautions at all.
Right.
What are some resources that people can go to get information about it?
The easiest place to go is the one of the age education and training centers. They're regional, so every region in the U.S. is covered by a particular center, and it'll be based out of some state or usually is a major city in that metro area. And what they are is a network of experts, infectious disease experts, dental experts on HIV, and they are a huge resource for continuing education, and it's all free. So basically what you do is you contact the AIDS Education Training Center. They'll assess where you are, where your knowledge is on HIV, and what your profession is. Because you'll either be a medical provider, which is a physician, nurse practitioner, physician assistant, or registered nurse.
Sure.
And dentist or hygienist. So they'll tailor the education to where you're at and basically where you want to be.
That's awesome.
If you want to, just a light refresher on things, if you want to be an expert on HIV management and care, it's the place to contact, and they will do that all for free.
That's awesome. How do they get to that? What's the website?
If you just look up AETC, AIDS Education and Training Centers, you'll find a federal website that is the basically main hub of it.
And if they want to get in contact with you personally,
I can be contacted at lopezjdaniel@gmail.com, or you can even message me on Dental Town. My handle is Crevicular.
And then also you're active on the Reddit threads, right?
Yes, I'm pretty active on Reddit. So Reddit's one of the biggest internet forums out there, and I'm one of the moderators for the dentistry Reddit. There's a public one and a private one, and we credential people to enter the private one where we have professional talk or just talking crap.
Yeah.
Very informal, very very relaxed, a lot of venting, but also very very educational.
Yeah.
And it's just a great way to sort of just kind of be, if you want to be anonymous and speak, about whatever you want.
Right. Well, I appreciate your guys' time. I know we're all we have packing and fun to be had. So we will post this probably in 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll let you guys know how that goes, okay?
Right.
Thanks for doing this, guys.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's a pleasure to meet you both.
All right, listeners, have a great week.